One thing I hope the young guys take away from being my teammate is just, an appreciation for how hard I worked. And I mean, for me, the appreciation just comes from seeing them working just as hard, seeing them put in the extra work in the gym, doing all those little things on the floor, like, putting your body on the floor, getting those floor burns that Coach Hass always raves about.
My name is Spencer Jones from Kansas City, Kansas. I'm a senior, and my major is management science and engineering.
Yeah, what I learned being as a leader, everybody knew I did everything to perfection or to as close as I could, working as hard as I could. So the example part was never a challenge for me. It was always being more vocal and getting things out of other people. I knew that was always gonna be the struggle for me, just because I just like to do my job and do it the best to my ability and focused on that. But as you get older, you realize you have to help other people get to that spot, just as the older guys did to me. So not just showing them, but kind of telling them what to do, because people see the game a little bit differently than you. People see things just in general differently than you. So you have to try to understand that and kind of acclimate yourself to how to present your way of doing things to them in a way that they're going to understand. Even though I saw college basketball as an option junior year, in my senior year I still didn't get kind of the offers I wanted. So my parents and I decided to just apply to colleges that you'd get into, or some maybe you don't know but think you can, as a regular student, and that kind of be your baseline. And then if you get recruited by colleges that are as good or better than that, then you'll take those. So fast forward through senior year, I didn't really get much interest from any schools there. An assistant coach at Stanford hit me up, and then they still kind of wanted to see me play a little bit more. So I had to contact my coaches to set up like an open gym, so coaches could come watch. And I remember we had like 5 or 6 coaches come watch that like open gym scrimmage, and then afterward I had meetings with all of them. And I think Stanford was like one of the last ones, and we loved the presentation. And my uncle went to Stanford, and my dad, he went to Harvard because he got waitlisted at Stanford. So it was kind of like a dream school for me, but I always saw it as a little unattainable. But then there it was. And probably a week after that open gym scrimmage and stuff, I had to come out to Stanford, which was great. It was a great visit. They gave me the offer there, and I had to commit. Shortly after. So it was very quick, and it was very late into my senior season in high school. It was a little bit of relief, because obviously you get a little bit of pressure, knowing your dad went to an Ivy League, your uncle went to Stanford, and my older brother and older sister both went to elite schools in the East Coast, Penn and Wellesley. So it's like you're next up to do something. It was great just to be able to continue the kind of excellence and just that generational excellence that my grandfather started. My grandfather has always had a great impact on me. Early on, when I was younger, you don't really understand it. I remember after he died, looking at a pamphlet about all the accomplishments as being the first African-American doctor in the KC metropolitan area that was integrated into white hospitals, and he was in a bunch of other first African-American in the same area to work on a white patient and stuff like that. And he had plenty of other firsts, and it's just the stuff he never really talked about. As when I was younger, what I remember him for is always showed up to every game, loved basketball, loved talking about all the old heads in the game, like Wilt Chamberlain in his KU days and Fog Allen, all that stuff. He was a real big KU fan. And then also I remember him just always, whenever he showed up to any of my games, whether I was like 4 years old or to my high school state championship, he was always there, and he was always the best dressed. He was always, and it was rare to see a black man and a white crowd being the absolute best dressed person there. Both him and my grandmother. So it was just great to see just that black excellence just standing there and cheering you on. Trevor Stanback really helped me just acclimate to basketball and everything outside of it in school, and he was really wanting to help me. Oscar was also fantastic with that. I remember he was the first one to take me out to ice cream and show me, salt and straw and all their weird flavors. But all the guys did a little bit here and there, especially over the course of my first 2 years. But I just remember those two in like the first 2 weeks, how willing they were to help, and how much they just helped me get through the first two weeks as a freshman in the summer, which are just acclimating to how much faster the game is, how much harder you have to play, and all those things. My role, I kind of figured out myself early on based on just kind of what the team needed, because I just wanted to get on the floor. I was just happy to be there at that point. You know, I wasn't really looking to like, ooh, how can I get the starting lineup? It was, for me, just, you know, how can I get minutes on the floor? Like once I got to Stanford, just, you know, finding a role that fit into myself and then just growing it from there. So I really looked at Ray Allen a lot, you know, his shot preparation and everything like that. Although I wasn't really as established as a shooter in my game, still transitioning to that point. But that was a guy I watched a lot of film on and tried to emulate. And so I saw with the team early on that shooting was something, not something we severely lacked, but it was one thing that we were lacking, one thing I thought I could provide. So I really spent that first summer in the gym shooting tons of shots, getting extra work with coaches on just all kinds of shot mid-ranges, but mostly three-point shooting, you know, catch and shoot three-pointers off movement, you know, stationary, just putting up tons of shots a game. And, you know, eventually they recognized me as a great shooter, and then I kind of just fell in that role. It's been consistent that three-point shooting has been my role here, but also you know, attacking off the bounce, you know, using my size now that I've gotten bigger because I'm taller, you know, attacking smaller guards and getting to the line and getting easier buckets, and then also becoming a better defender, you know, with former players like Bryce and Dejan that I played with for 2 years, even Oscar. I mean, they were all great defenders, so it was learning from their instincts and you know, how they saw the game defensively that I was able to become a great defender as well. And then, so I mean, I've always done the little things in terms of diving on the floor for loose balls and stuff like that to you know, to impact the game. And so it was adding on to that. My major is management science and engineering. You know, at first it sounds like just a bunch of words, but it's basically just the study of business management and management systems. And the reason I took it was because initially I was thinking of doing biomedicine, just because my dad, uncle, and my grandfather were all in medicine, all doctors. And you know, the things I'm kind of looking to do with that is maybe like, you know, something like tech consulting. You can do something like investment banking, or you know, if I do like a co-term or something, I'll get into like the management of running hospitals, or you know, something in healthcare. So it's got plenty of possibilities for me, and I'm happy to have, you know, spent 4 years studying it. My greatest memory as a Stanford basketball player would probably be the UCLA game we played during COVID, and you know, the Santa Cruz Warriors G League affiliate arena, just because, you know, it was a great example of like grit and toughness, just because, you know, we were in the most restrictive county in America during COVID, so we weren't on campus on practices. You know, we were staying in hotels, isolated from each other, you know, taking millions and millions of COVID tests. So it was pretty emotionally and physically draining to beat a team like UCLA at the buzzer, you know, only celebrating with, you know, a handful of fans in the arena, but really just celebrating amongst yourselves. It was really just a team win. I mean, really just doing it for each other, followed by, I just remember, you know, we were all just hanging out in the same room, just laughing, having a great time. So that whole day, from that victory to celebration afterwards, was just great in terms of, you know, just showing the kind of team culture we had, and you know, how close I was to the guys and how fun everything was.